Hello, my dear learners. How are you all doing? Welcome to a new session here on Skillfident with your mentor Namita. In today's class, we are going to work on building effective communication skills. Now, effective communication is the ability to convey information in a clear, concise, and understandable manner to achieve a specific goal. And for that, we are going to discuss 8 C's of communication today. Yes, generally it is only 7 C's which are talked about, but here we are going to talk about 8 C's. Out of all these 8, the very first one is communication itself. Yes. Now this English word communication is derived from the Latin word communis, which means common sense, and that's what we all need for a good communication. Now, the word communication therefore means sharing the same ideas. In other words, if I have to tell you, I would say that it is the transmission and interaction of facts, ideas, opinions, or attitudes. Communication, as we all know, is a two-way process. So it involves transferring of information or messages from one person or group to another. Very simple, you already know this. This process goes on and it includes a minimum of one sender and receiver to pass on the messages. Alright, these messages can either be ideas, imagination, emotion, or thoughts. Now, whenever we have to convey our thoughts to somebody, we need to have appropriate words, appropriate statements, right sentences. Why we always feel that we are not able to convey the real ideas which are in our head, we are not being able to convert them into speech, is because we don't have the right alternatives to convey the same thing, the same message. For an effective communication, we need to have alternative for the same idea. If you have to say, I am tired, now that's the most basic thing which we say, I am tired. You can be tired at your workplace, at home, in college or school. That's the most simple way to say. But if you are building good communication skills, you need to have some better ways. You need to have some good alternatives to convey the same thing, that you are tired. Let's have a look at all these alternatives. The very first way is, the very first expression is worn out. Worn out. Now, let's look at an example. I can't do any more cleaning today. There is a lot of dust and I am worn out. Yes, use worn out instead of tired. Another way can be on my last legs, and that's a beautiful expression. On my last legs. I can't attend another meeting now. I am on my last legs. Let's go home. Another way is knackered. Knackered. How we can use it in a sentence? Suppose I say, I am knackered because I was out partying all night. Another way is exhausted. Let's look at an example. Priya was exhausted after cooking so many dishes for the guests. So exhausted, another expression. Spent. Now spent can be used for saying I'm tired, like I've been working hard this week and I'm spent. So these were some alternatives to say I'm tired. To have a good communication skills, make sure that you are learning a lot of other expressions than the common ones that you've been using since your childhood. Along with it, you have to also consider other person's point of view and listen to them properly. So these are signs of a good communication. Moving on to the second C of our effective communication, that is clarity. So clarity means that your message should be clear and easily understandable by the recipient. The person who is listening to you should have the clear idea about what you are trying to say. Put your message clearly in your communication so that the person who's listening to you is not getting confused. So let them be clear about your message, your idea, your thoughts, whatever you're conveying. Now, I would add one more thing to this clarity thing, that make sure to emphasize on one message at a time. What happens is when you try to put multiple ideas at once, it may get confusing, and that's what is happening all the time. So I am trying to say that don't beat about the bush. Avoid that part. Beat about the bush, what is that? Beat about the bush is an idiom, and it means discussing a matter without coming to the point and wasting other person's time as well, when you're going around the same idea but you're still not coming to the point. And this happens when we are trying to tell somebody that they are wrong, and or we are wrong, something which is not right. Now, okay, let's look at it. I'll also give you some examples. When you're conveying that something is not wrong, you might try to beat about the bush. You might just not be able to put it right in front of the person. So there are some wonderful ways which will make you a good communicator. Now, instead of telling the person that you are wrong, use the word inaccurate. Let's look at an example. Suppose in your office, something like this happens. So you can say, the sales figures were inaccurate. Can you please explain why? It is better to say wrong. You can use incorrect. Incorrect. Example, the teacher says, if more than 50% of your answers are incorrect, you will fail the test. Yes. Untrue is another way of conveying something which is wrong. The police believe your account of what happened last night is untrue. Another way is false. Use the word false instead. If you give false information, you could go to jail. And the last way of saying the same thing is not right. Suppose you're going somewhere and your friend has given you directions. You can say, these directions are not right. I think we are lost. So when you convey something like this in a more easily understandable manner, it is good for the listener. They will not get confused and they'll also get your message. Moving on to the third C of our communication is being correct, which is very, very important. Now, it means that the message should be accurate without any grammatical errors. So you know that grammar is so important. The last session was about a grammar topic which you find very confusing. It is related to tenses. If you have not attended that session, I'll link it here. You can go attend it after finishing this one. Now, a correct communication is also error-free communication. You cannot keep making errors and say that you are an effective communicator. No, this is not how it works. When communication is correct and precise, it improves your confidence level as well. It works like this. It helps to enhance the impact that you wanted to create through your communication. So make sure that there is this element of correctness in your communication. As I mentioned that the sentence has to be correct, error-free. So what happens is whenever you're trying to talk about any past incident, you never find the right formation of the sentence. Let's look at something which is a blend of past perfect tense and past perfect continuous. The correct formation, you just look at it and understand what I'm trying to say. There is this absolutely correct sentence which might sound a little complicated to you. When Harish died, he and Anita had been married for nearly 50 years. Are you noticing how correct it is? Okay, let's look at one more sentence. Grammatically correct sentence. I had been watching that program every week since it started, but I missed the last episode. So this is how you have to work on your grammar, sentence construction, how you're forming your statements very much. All right, now let's move on to the fourth C of our communication, that is being complete. Complete. C for complete. your message must include all the relevant information. Sometimes we just leave incomplete sentences. Your communication should be complete, simple. That's a rule. Never leave your sentences incomplete. The audience or the listeners should be able to receive the complete message so that they will be able to take appropriate action. Many people are in the habit of leaving open-ended statements, and it is very difficult to make out what they are trying to say. If you look at the other side of an incomplete message, these kind of messages require more clarification and it takes a lot of time and effort. So if you keep it simple, complete, it would save time as well. Let's have a look at an example which is very professional. So suppose, let's see, if I am sending you an email, or simply here I come and say, "Hi everyone, I just wanted to send you all a reminder about the meeting we are having tomorrow. See you then, Namita." Now, do you think this message is complete? No, this message is not complete for obvious reasons. What meeting? When is it? Where is it? I have left you all without the necessary information. So you don't know what I'm trying to say, where I'm inviting you, what is this all about? It is not complete. What would be a complete message? Let's have a look at a good example of a complete message. If I say, "Hi everyone, I just wanted to remind you about tomorrow's meeting on the new voice and accent training session in our office. The meeting will be at 10 a.m. in the second level conference room. Please let me know if you can't attend. See you then, Namita." Now, this is absolutely complete message. It will be easy for you to understand what this message is all about and where are we all going to meet. So make sure that you're completing the message and the recipient is not left with a lot of confusion. Let's move on to the fifth C of our communication. It is conciseness. The message needs to be concise. Avoid lengthy sentences and try to convey the subject matter in the least possible words. I have seen people saying a very small thing, the message is not that big, but they are using 100 words while it could have been completed in merely 15 to 20 words. So when I say that your message has to be concise, it means that there has to be an element of wordiness. Now, wordiness means the choice of the words that you are choosing should be absolutely relevant to the content. You're choosing the right and the most appropriate words, statements, sentences. You need to communicate your message in the least possible words so that you can save time. Apart from saving time, you are also letting the other person have a clear message. Avoid repetition, make it shorter. Using excessive words do not make much sense. It is all the unnecessary information that you are giving the other person, as the reader may get carried away by your unnecessary information. Now suppose I want to tell you all that let's not look at the outer appearance of a person. It is not always the outlook that matters. It is always about how a person is from within, all of that. Now, I can simply say, don't judge a book by its cover. That's the most simple manner. But there are more alternatives. We can also say, beauty is only skin deep. Appearances are often misleading. Or, don't be shallow. Looks aren't everything. What really matters is invisible to the eyes. Now, I have said the same thing, that let's not look at the outer appearance of the person. Let's look at how beautiful heart they carry and all of that. But we can always use less words, a small statement, and convey the same thing, in fact, in a more aesthetic manner. I hope it is clear to you. Moving on to the sixth C of our communication, that is concrete. Your message has to be concrete. All the facts and figures should be clearly mentioned in a message. Now, concreteness means putting facts and figures right in front of the receiver. Majorly, being concrete helps in avoiding misinterpretations. Being concrete in your thoughts and language holds a great importance, more than you think. When your message is concrete, your audience has a clear picture of what you are trying to tell them. There are details, but not too many, and vivid facts. Along with it, there is laser-like focus. I am trying to say that your message is solid, and that is what is being concrete. Don't simply say, I don't know, if you don't know anything about what is being discussed, the meeting is all about, or people are just, talking, you don't know, and they are asking something. So you end up saying, I don't know. Now, this is a very vague kind of response. Instead of saying this, let's try to be more concrete with our statements. You can say, I have absolutely no idea about what's going on in this meeting, if you're in a meeting. Or another beautiful way is, it beats me how this program works. Beats me. Use beats me. Or you can say, since she hasn't studied at all, I don't think she'll pass the test. But who knows? Who knows is another way. You can say, I haven't the foggiest idea how these politicians work. Use foggiest idea instead. Or, your guess is as good as mine. As good as mine. You can use it. Or, I have no clue. Or, I'm clueless. That's the simplest way. Instead of saying I don't know, say I have no clue or I'm clueless. Now, the 7th C of our communication is consideration. Now, you have to keep some consideration into your mind. The sender must take into consideration the receiver's opinions. Consider your audience while you communicate. You have to consider their educational background. You have to consider their mindset so that you can become an effective communicator. You have to see where the person comes from, the background, the status. Everything needs to be considered when you are making any kind of communication. Because it is not acceptable to hurt someone's emotions. People end up hurting other people many times in a communication, and that's the example of a bad communication. So empathize with the receiver of the message whenever there is any such situation. For that, you have to try to use more positive words. Notice that I have used the word empathize here. To empathize with people, you need to use statements which are polite. Like, in some difficult situations, you can say, I can see where you are coming from. It's hard to stay motivated when you are not seeing results. Or, I know you're going through a difficult time. Just remember, I'm here for you. Or if somebody has lost their job, you can say, you lost your job and now you have to look for a new one. That must be tough for you. You can say, losing a loved one is devastating. I can't imagine what you're going through. That's just empathizing with other person. Don't blame yourself. It sounds like you did everything you could. Or, I can't imagine how hard this must be. I wish I had the right words to comfort you. And that's what we are trying to do. We are just trying to comfort the other person. So be polite and try to convey your thoughts in a positive manner so that you're just getting the emotions of other person. Okay, now coming to the very last C for this communication or effective communication today, it is being courteous. Yes. Now, being courteous means that your message should not be biased. It must show respect for the recipient. You cannot disrespect people and think that you are a good communicator. This is not how it works. Obviously, the receiver needs to be respected. So make sure that your communication is polite, positive, and focused on the audience. Avoid biased opinions or impolite conversations. Sometimes we just immediately say harsh words to people. Yes, there are times when we have to convey something which is very difficult, something where everything is not that positive. There can be some negative statements which we need to pass on. So suppose you're telling your friend it's a bad idea. Don't say it's a bad idea. Your friend has shared something and you're simply saying it's a bad idea. No, not like that. Say your presentation is not good. I'm not quite satisfied with your presentation. That's another way. Or you have to say, leave me alone. Don't say it like that. Instead, say, could you please give me a minute? That's a very good way. Could you please give me a minute? Or if you have to tell somebody that they are wrong, you are wrong. That's very harsh. Instead, say, I think you might be mistaken. I think you might be mistaken. So this is expressing a lot of polite, positive, and not hurting statements, right? So with all these 8 C's, I am only trying to tell you that effective communication is an innate quality that needs to be developed. And why do you need to develop it? You need to develop it to have a bright career, especially when you really want to excel in your professional growth. You want to go somewhere. So you have to actually start improving your communication skills right away. So with this information that you have in your hand, you can actually become a very good communicator. You can actually have really effective communication skills. So this was all about communication today, and I hope that you'll work on all the C's that we have shared and you'll keep everything in your mind. If you like this session, let me know in the comments section, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Till then, take care of yourself and keep working on your English. Bye bye for now.